Good afternoon and welcome to the Sam Lacrosse Show. Happy Monday. On Saturday, May 18th, 2018, the wedding of the century happened when Harry, Crown Prince of England and the Duke of Sussex, married Meghan Markle, an American actress who would later become the Duchess of Sussex. The royal family has always been a case study in culture and relevance, and this case was no different. Little did we know at the time, the matrimony of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle would soon be the initiation for one of the great cultural battlegrounds for the next decade. The two apparently were set up on a blind date after connecting on Instagram in 2016. Harry, the younger son of Princess Diana, who therefore had no shot to be the King of England, had all the trappings of success one could want. He was famous, rich, and waited on by nature of his birthright. He had to do absolutely nothing to gain status. It was conferred upon him from the moment of his birth. This is the advantage of royalty, as it turns out. It shields you, at least in theory, from all pretenses of criticism and scrutiny. It is the very definition of entitlement. What you say goes, and damned by anyone who says otherwise. And the wedding reflected that entitlement. Some estimated that the total cost of the wedding to be floating around a whopping 32 million British pounds. Tourism revenues for the British economy to celebrate the occasion were estimated at an astounding 1 billion pounds. Meghan and Harry were, perhaps rightly, treated as a prince and princess should, like royalty. The British monarchy has always been a fascination to a good number of people. It's in our social fabric, our tabloids, our television shows. However, after the wedding, things began to fall apart quite rapidly. Meghan, a celebrity by nature, was always looking for a way to get more famous, to increase her cultural relevancy. The way she chose to do that was to marry the dunce of the British royal family, her husband, Prince Harry. Remember, even though Harry was impressive due to his stock, in some people's eyes, he was far from an impressive person. He wasn't particularly handsome. He couldn't speak that well. He didn't seem very sharp to anyone he talked with. His draw, the only draw, was that he was royalty. Meghan Markle, a shallow and vain person whose only desire was more of her existing vanity, saw this and pounced. Does she love Prince Harry? I'm sure she does, at least a little bit. That's what tends to happen in a marriage. The passionate love fades, the companionate love blossoms. I don't think they openly despise each other, at least, such as Bill and Hillary Clinton and Barack and Michelle Obama. At least that's something. But that was never the draw of Prince Harry to Meghan Markle. Fame was. How do we know this? Well, because her inner nature, the dark triad, fame-seeking darkness, came out immediately after the wedding bells quieted, of course. As soon as the tone of the wedding settled down, Markle began to sow seeds of division inside the royal family, slowly worming her way not to become another Princess Diana or Kate Middleton, but rather a Marie Antoinette. The biggest lever she used to promote this division was her aloof husband, Prince Harry. Harry dutifully did what all cucked men do. Whatever their wife says, without argument. Whatever spine he had was immediately extracted and replaced with whatever Meghan had to say about anything. If you notice their interviews, it's her that does all the talking. She wears the pants in this family. Whatever she says goes. It's the classic case of Ahab and Jezebel, a passive and weak man marrying a nefarious woman, only to have that same woman destroy everything around him. Her playbook was simple: do everything to upend the tradition of the royal family to enrich herself for power and profits. She began to tell all about the quote-unquote restrictiveness and the quote-unquote traditionalism of the royal family. She openly called them, her new in-laws, racists. She wouldn't let them see their children. In 2020, they stepped down as quote-unquote working royals, whatever that means, and moved back to California. All of this was done for one purpose, and one purpose only: to grab attention. Meghan and Harry became the most famous celebrity couple in the world overnight. They had quite literally billions of eyes trained on them at all times. As the saying goes, there is no such thing as bad publicity. They had every advantage towards them. They came from privileged and used it to lay the foundation for an empire of their own, one further from the British monarchy than one ever thought possible. That foundation was called Archewell Productions, a film and television company founded and run by Meghan Markle that served to quote-unquote elevate women. She pitched shows about girls meeting famous women from history, such as Harriet Tubman. They filmed themselves on 2 different Netflix sets and series and films. She launched a podcast called Archetypes, which served to interview more famous women. And yet it didn't last, because as it turns out, the last thing people wanted to hear from the Duchess of Sussex was about the struggles of Asian American women in San Francisco, or about how the Underground Railroad somehow related to her marrying into the most well-known family in the world, as it turns out. But that wasn't a problem for her. She had a backup plan. Alongside Archewell, Markle launched American Riviera Orchard and As Ever, a cookware and consumer products company. Unbelievably, she had gone from the palace to the marketplace, hawking dishware and stainless steel pots off of the grift of the royal family. Just as Esau so foolishly did, she had traded her birthright that she had married into for a bowl of soup. However, Meghan Markle still had a problem. Even though she had married a royal, she was still not a royal. Even though she had shamelessly glommed onto the royals, the draw was still not her. It was to her husband. Thankfully, she still had much control, so much control and sway over him that all it took was just a little push and she could deal the fatal blow. And that blow came on January 10th, 2023. On that date, Prince Harry released his memoir, Spare, to the world. Harry, perhaps the most least interesting royal who has ever walked the earth, hammed up the book's release like no one's business, goaded on by his money-grubbing wife. They went on Oprah. They continue to complain without ceasing. Due to their past 5 years of selling out, their strategy worked, and worked incredibly. Spare sold an amazing 1.49 million copies on the first day, blowing out the competition to become the biggest single-day book launch in modern recorded history. And this is no small feat, particularly who they were passed on that list. The four rounding out the top five were Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Bill Clinton, and George W. Bush, in that order. Three of whom being formerly known as the most powerful man in the world, and the other being married to one, in addition to her being seen as more than likely the most famous woman on the face of the earth, not named Meghan Markle. Now, even though Harry and Meghan once again had every single possible advantage in the world, this is still an amazing feat. Breaking a world record, particularly in regards to book sales, in that lane of competition is nothing to sneeze at. When David Goggins broke the pull-up record in 2013 by doing over 4,018 hours, that was impressive. When Cameron Haynes' living legend of his son Truett shattered it by doing 8,000 in the same time frame last year, that was even more so. It's hard to break a world record, let alone to break a competitive world record. When Harry and Meghan climbed the seemingly insurmountable mountain of beating out the book sales of the Obamas, Clintons, and Bushes, everyone thought it would be impossible to even try to break it. Except for one person. On August 16th of this year, that record that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry thought would never be broken was not just broken, but shattered by a man who had come out of nowhere less than 5 years ago, Alex Hormozi. Hormozi, who has now become somewhat of a living legend in the business world, particularly for young people, young men especially, is something unlike we've ever seen, particularly in this space. For those who are unfamiliar with the Alex Hormozi origin story, let me sum it up for you. Hormozi grew up the son of first-generation Iranian immigrants in Baltimore, Maryland. His father was a very successful and wealthy physician. At times, their relationship was very strained. Hormozi then went to Vanderbilt University, where he was an excellent student and the president of his fraternity. His obsessions were twofold: business and fitness. He later graduated with Latin honors and took a job at a major consulting firm. But like most people who work in the soulless industry of corporate consulting, he later found out that he despised it. He wanted out desperately. However, he was presented with an opportunity that most would salivate over, to apply for an MBA program at Harvard Business School. At the time, Hormozi was considering quitting his job to do what he'd always wanted to do: open up, start, and scale gyms. After weighing what he had called the most terrifying decision of his life, he chose the latter option. Hormozi then packed up his car, drove to California, and began working in gyms for next to nothing. Soon, he scraped together enough funds to open up his own gym in his mid-20s. He slept on the floor. He mopped bathrooms. He did everything he could to make it work. And he did. He was barely afloat, but still floating. Around this time, he went on a date with a girl he met on Bumble named Layla. All Hormozi did was work, so his date idea was simple: the two of them working together. On that date, they discovered something remarkable. They were both obsessively driven. They made a decision then and there. They would combine forces and build a fitness empire together. Fast forward several years later, and the two had recently formed a company called Gym Launch. This was, at the time, a completely crazy concept. This was before COVID, before what we called the quote-unquote creator economy became a thing. Now, instead of opening up physical gyms that they owned, the Hormozis would teach people how to open gyms they didn't own. Everyone thought they were crazy. Consulting firms do this. People can do their own research. There's more information out there than ever. Who are you to throw your hat in this ring? Yet little did anyone know that the Hormozis had just started an avalanche, opening up a completely new economy that no one had ever imagined existing. Not only did people pay the Hormozis money for their successful gym launch strategy, they paid massively for it. Soon, the Hormozis were launching gyms across the country, collecting massive amounts of cash and scaling to millions of revenues per month, purely off of selling knowledge that others didn't have. Not all was smooth sailing, obviously. I won't get into the details here, but some of the stories the two have told are absolutely harrowing. Losing everything twice, having to make $150 million in profit or $150,000 in profit in 30 days or go insolvent. Feeling so pathetic about yourself that you have to tell your girlfriend who gave up everything for you in her childhood bedroom that she should leave you. This is not for the faint-hearted or weak-minded. Every time the two of them still talk about it, you can tell just how much it still hurts their souls. And every entrepreneur can relate to this at some level. But miraculously, they got through all of them. Gym Launch soon became a sensation, the first smash hit of the modern digital economy era. The Hormozis then used the company to fund several others, all based on the same thing: knowledge. Their revenues ramped even more. Their businesses scaled even faster. Finally, breakthrough occurred. Hormozi sold Gym Launch for an incredible $46 million exit, and at the young age of 32, the combined net worth of Alex and Layla Hormozi was parked at just north of $100 million. But they didn't stop there. Alex Hormozi knew he had something and pounced on it. Almost immediately after exiting, he formed a new company, Acquisition.com, which he currently still runs. The private equity firm that would soon reshape the digital economy was Hormozi's single biggest bet ever, throwing all his capital he had worked so hard at for one thing: the assumption that his model, one based on knowledge and skill development, could turn any business into a money-printing machine. And it worked. Acquisition.com soon got not only into knowledge businesses, but every business: e-commerce, brick and mortar, retail, software, etc. During the middle and near aftermath of the COVID pandemic, Acquisition's yearly revenues were an astounding $250 million. At the same time, Hormozi was beginning to unleash his secret weapon, his personal brand. Hormozi himself is just about as memeable as you can be. He's outrageously muscular, has a bushy beard, and wears nothing but tank tops, flannels, and his trademark nose strips. He's completely out of place in the traditional way of doing business. It's why no one saw him coming, and why no one took him seriously. The self-own in all of this for the business world was that it is also why he won. I've had a lot of options on and opinions on Alex Hormozi throughout the years. Do I believe he is someone people, particularly young men, should look up to in a holistic fashion? No, I stand by that opinion. He married his wife for business purposes. He's openly said as much. He has no deep religious faith. He aspires to be the richest person who's ever lived. He doesn't do anything but work. I don't believe that's a healthy recipe for the vast majority of people to live, and for any Christian to live, mind you. But that being said, I am of the concurrent opinion that Alex Hormozi is one of the most important cultural figures of our time. He's the smartest person outside of Myron Golden that I've ever heard talk about business, particularly in the modern era. He runs circles around all the quote-unquote smart people we were told were the quote-unquote gurus about entrepreneurship, like Gary Vee and Grant Cardone. But it's not just Hormozi's smarts that makes him such a juggernaut. Rather, it's something deeper than that. Alex Hormozi is important because Alex Hormozi is challenging the status quo about everything for young people. On July 13th, 2021, Alex Hormozi released his first book, $100 Million Offers. The book, a lampoonish caricature of a textbook complete with doodles and wide spacing, was the exact format of how Hormozi had structured every single one of his companies. He held nothing back about how to create, in his words, quote-unquote, offers so good that people feel stupid saying no. It broke the internet and was the gateway to making him more relevant and popular than he already was. 2 years later, he followed up that effort with his second book, $100 Million Leads, focused on content and marketing, his personal specialty. To launch the book, Hormozi pulled off one of the largest webinars ever, in which he sold the books as well as several other add-ons. It was an absolute triumph and made Hormozi a superstar. He broke every single rule again and still won. But he was not to be outdone. A little over 2 weeks ago, Hormozi hosted another webinar for his third book, $100 Million Money Models, which showed people how to structure a business so that it will never run out of cash. But this is no ordinary webinar meant to just promote Alex Hormozi and his new book. Instead, Hormozi had a target in mind, someone he wanted to crush, someone who, probably still, has never even heard of him. Prince Harry. Alex Hormozi didn't want to just sell a book on this webinar. He wanted to sell more books in a single day than anyone in recorded history, including Prince Harry, the Obamas, Bill Clinton, and George Bush, all in some ways heads of state in two of the most powerful countries in the history of the world. It was completely crazy, like everything Hormozi had ever tried to do. And like everything Hormozi had ever tried to do, it worked. In the first day, Hormozi cleared over 2.5 million copies of $100 million money models, an astounding 1.1 million more than Prince Harry. The way he did so? By creating an offer. Framing it as a way to get access to a new AI software, several other unreleased books, and a free trial of his community platform school, Hormozi offered it up to anyone on the webinar for $6,000. In exchange, he would donate 200 books to entrepreneurs across America to give back to what he had given them so much, what had given him his start. Knowledge. He made a bet that everyone in the trenches, all the entrepreneurs, would feel the same. And we agreed with him. And I agreed with him because I was one of the ones who bought it. So why does Alex Hormozi matter? Not because he pulled off the greatest book launch event in history. Not because he's a perfect man. Not because he's got a great shot at becoming the wealthiest man in the history of the world one day. It's for one reason, and one reason only. He has shown more than anyone that traditionalism in terms of business, career, and education are all but dead, empty vessels. The game has officially changed. If you don't change with it, you'll be lying dead among the rest of them very soon. Alex Hormozi and the digital economy that he pioneered is showing us that everything we thought we knew about everything can be rewritten. Should we go to college? Is getting an MBA worth it? What should I do in my career? How should I invest my money? Is venture capital just a grift? Is saving for retirement even worth it? All of these questions, once thought to be rock solid in their answers, are now officially up for grabs. And this is a good thing. There are no sacred cows. Everything can be questioned, particularly if those institutions no longer serve the people that they claim to serve anymore. So much about business, education, entrepreneurship, and things surrounding them are outdated at the most charitable and flat wrong at their most blunt. Alex Hormozi is the canary in the coal mine for all of it. Most importantly, with all of this, Alex Hormozi is doing something far more important. He's showing people how to dream big again. This is something we've lacked, particularly among young people, for a very long time. We've successfully choked all the ambition out of our younger generations, of our pioneer class. Our cultural malaise is very real. But Alex Hormozi and people like him show us that it doesn't have to be. We'd be wise to heed his example and charge after him into the fray to create the future that we want. Feeling much better this week, by the way. Thank you for the prayers if anyone prayed for me over the time. So voice is a lot better today. So the biggest thing about Hormozi, the book launch, everything like that, is not because Alex Hormozi is some super smart guy, which he is. It's not because the Money Models book is going to be a hit, which it already is. It's because he is showing us that business as usual, as we've been told for years in terms of the business community. I went to undergrad business school. I know a lot of people that went to business school. All of that stuff is basically irrelevant at this point. It's history, and we can learn from it, and we can see where things came from, but is it going to really translate to success in this new world with AI and the changing of the economy and the fluctuation in tech and this new digital economy? No, of course not. The textbooks can't keep up. The algorithms are faster, and they update in real time. It's just not, it's not a suitable model anymore, and we'll get to the education piece later on, but basically what Alex Hormozi is, I think the most important cultural thing about him is that he is a canary in the coal mine for much that is changing in the business world. And so this means essentially that everything we thought we knew about our institutions, generally, but specifically in business, well, this is going to be a business episode, that we thought we knew about our institutions, how effective they are, etc., it's all being disrupted. Everything is being disrupted. I remember seeing this a couple years ago. I remember Google was basically saying they had a program that they basically spit out that said essentially that, you know, hey, if you want to skip college and just come code for Google, we'll pay you $60,000 and we'll basically get you a firm or a guaranteed employment slot after 3 years if you complete the program. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, they're done. Like everything we thought about the structure of becoming like a bigwig or big shot in business, like it's all over. And companies have been, the marketplace obviously is more efficient than the government, than the university system, than a lot of other things. And so it's adapting first. But now we're seeing a very aggressive slant towards everything about this industry generally. And so everyone wants to talk about, you know, in terms of the economy generally, this digital economy that's just exploding right now. I remember my friend and my first business coach, Owen Samron, he put this tweet out once, this is probably about a year ago at this point, that essentially said by the end of 2025, the digital creator economy will be worth about 270 billion in terms of total market cap. And what analysts are forecasting is that by 2035, so 10 years out from now, it's going to be a $1 trillion market cap. We're only a quarter of the way there, folks. A quarter of the way, folks. So I know everyone wants to talk about AI and the computing race and microchips and models and Silicon Valley and tech companies and everything. And that's important, obviously. Like, AI is going to help this industry quite a bit. But I think this is the economy, and I might be nuts for thinking this. I don't think I am, but I might be. I think this is the economy that's really going to change the world. I think this digital economy, this kind of new explosion of small business on the internet, which is what this is, to be very frank about it. It's not anything that's going to, like the people that are starting these coaching, consulting, information style businesses, these knowledge companies, I've started a couple of them. They're not in it really, and some of them are, they're not in it to be like, the next, Jamie Dimon or Mark Zuckerberg or any of these like big shot corporate guys. They just want a small business. They want a freedom business. They want something that makes enough to pay some employees and cover their bills and make a healthy amount of profit and then just kind of leave them alone. It's the way I've explained it before is that it's kind of like when you look at America back before globalization, like in the early 20th century, like you had, if you were to walk down the main street of a small town, for example, and there was like a general store and a convenience store and a food market and like an orange, whatever the thing is going to be. That is going to be replicated with this economy on the internet. I'm fully convinced off of that, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's knowledge, whether it's YouTube, whether it's whatever. Education, etc. You see Jordan Peterson's doing this right now. It's another great example with what he's building with Peterson Academy. It's remarkable at how much progress they've made in the last couple of years. All the reviews I've heard, it's absolutely stellar, and Peterson himself has said it's really, really going quite well. And so I think there are three reasons that this is happening. And I think the first one is kind of what I was mentioning earlier. It is the death of corporate America, the prestige of corporate America, and corporate culture generally. Because when, and we'll talk about this a lot, this can be a recurring theme of the show today, but like we were told growing up, it's like, oh my gosh, you're going to work for like Procter & Gamble. Like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. It's like, really? Like, is that cool? I don't think so. And I think less of that now, to be honest. And so since the pandemic, especially, corporate America and corporate culture has taken just a massive hit. Their reputations are completely in tatters. And they don't seem to have an answer for that. Like, I think a lot of young people especially are kind of be like, what are we even doing here? Like, this is like, I don't like the company I work for. They don't care about me. It's like up and down and whatever. And they're like, there's got to be something else out there. And there is something else out there. And I think that's the cool thing about what this economy is doing is that it's giving people options. It gave me an option. I left the corporate world to go hop into the digital economy and make my way there, for example. And so there is, no one is coming to the rescue for these companies. And will these big companies survive? Most likely. Some of them will. But also, particularly for young people, as this opportunity grows and gets evangelized, as they start to use AI and get more into social media and these platforms start to mature, you're going to see, I think, a lot of like 17, 18, 19-year-old kids just say, I'm not going to college. I'm starting an AI business. I'm starting a coaching company. I'm going to solve this one problem for corporations or businesses or whatever. I'm just not going to go. And that's what's happening. I'm not going to go work a job. Like, why would I work a job? I can start a business and make more money and have no one tell me what to do. And you can do that now, which is so crazy. And I've seen it happen before. Like, I know, like, the amount of rich, wealthy 18, 19-year-old kids is crazy that I know right now. And so what this is doing to the corporate world is really putting a lot of pressure on them because their labor force, the bulk of their labor comes from cheap, hungry young people that they need to prey on to get them to survive. And I think there's going to be so much turnover, not just with the up-and-coming workforce who's either in college or thinking about going to college, but I think even with our young workforce now. I mean, I think there's going to be so many people leaving, so many people not going in the corporate world that it's going to make our heads spin. They're not going to know what to do about it. And I think I've gone back and forth on this a lot. I think really the biggest disruption that COVID caused, obviously outside of the disease itself, because the disease was awful and it shut down the economy and everything. But I think that the biggest impact that we've seen in COVID that really I don't think a lot of people are talking about, but I think it's a big deal, is the labor market. I mean, the labor market was wild during COVID. We had a bunch of people unemployed, bunch of people that are living off the government, bunch of people starting companies, blowing companies up, going back into the workforce, swapping this, laying people off. Like, it was crazy to see the churn, the chewing up and spitting out, especially of the big players inside of the marketplace. And it was wild to kind of see how all that kind of stuff was really making itself happen. And so, which leads to the second reason why I think, business as usual is dead, is that there's a broader cultural disillusionment with our institutions. And this is running concurrent. That's the major blow up of all our institutions, because the reason why the digital economy and the reason why Alex Hormozi exists is because of something not working, right? So how an entrepreneur is able to become an entrepreneur and start a business, it's not to compete directly with the big dogs. Like, you're not going to start a cell phone company and compete with Samsung or Google or Apple. You're just not. But what you can do is you can say, hey, I think there's something wrong with a particular function of a cell phone, and I am going to go and fix that problem. There is a gap there, and you have to close that gap and fill it. That's why entrepreneurs exist, really, is to fulfill a gap. There is a problem that needs to be solved with a cultural issue, a business issue, a schooling issue, an education issue, whatever that thing is going to be. And an entrepreneur who goes in the marketplace says, I can have a solution for that, and they fix that problem. And so that is how all businesses start. They see a problem and a people to serve. That's what my friend Hafiz Bayoku says. He's writing a book now called The Ethical Millionaire. And so there's two things that entrepreneurs do. They have a problem to solve and a people to serve. That's what makes a good entrepreneur. And so the first one, that problem to solve part, means that entrepreneurs thrive off of disrupting a failing market and system of some kind, which is why you're seeing this explosion in not only the AI economy, but the digital economy, and especially in the digital economy, which is what this episode's going to be on. And so you're seeing all of the failures in corporate culture, in education, in health, in fitness, and whatever. I remember I was having this conversation with my mom once, and she asked me, like, is this business that you're in, like, is this industry really that popular? And I told her yes. And she's like, and I told her, I'm like, Mom, you realize that the only way my business can exist is because of massive institutional failure. And she was like, well, what do you mean? It's like, Mom, the education system's screwed. Like, the food system's screwed. The health system is screwed. The making money business is screwed. The wealth business is screwed. Everything is so messed up. And young people are so turned off by all of those things. They're going to alternatives. That's what consumers do. They go to alternatives. And that's what the digital economy is. It's a massive ecosystem of alternatives to every single thing you could possibly want to do. And so what the digital economy has done, and the entrepreneurs that have created this digital economy has done, is they've created a new institution, and several, like millions of them, thousands of them at least, to replace the old one. So again, media, education, health, whatever the case might be. It is a massive disruption. And everything that is really happening because of that is because of the digital economy and what people are doing to work inside of that. And this is made possible by the third reason why the digital economy is really doing well, which is, put quite simply, the availability of resources. Resources now are, so if you again, fast forward this back even like 25 years ago, even 10 years ago, really, the resources of starting a company were so daunting. They were so scarce. They were so highly guarded by the banks, by the credit regulators, by, just the know-how. And like oftentimes people thought they needed an MBA to start a business, for example, or something like that. But now they're not. They're just not anymore. Resources are more available now than ever before. Knowledge is easier to obtain with AI, with books, with Audible, with everything that we're seeing now than ever before. It's easier to make money doing more things now than ever before. Money, knowledge, resources, connections, social media. You can reach out to anybody at any time. You would be stunned at how many people I've reached out to over Instagram. Just tagged them in a post. I've had conversations with presidential candidates, some of the biggest business people in the world, with people that are movers and shakers across all sorts of industries. And that wasn't possible 10 years ago. It wasn't possible 15 years ago, but it's possible now. And people are realizing that. And so to Hormozi's point, knowledge, which he believes and I believe is the differentiator to basically success in anything, it's now more dispersed than ever before. It's more accessible now than ever before, which is allowing people who don't have much in terms of capital knowledge. It's like, how much does an 18-year-old have to spend? Like $20? I was broke when I was 18. But now, You don't even have to pay much for it. You can go to YouTube. You can go to ChatGPT. You can do whatever. Learn how to start a company. And you can do it with like a small tech stack with a Zoom license and a Google Drive. You can start a coaching business and you can make good money doing it, which is allowing people who don't have much to compete at a level they were not before, which is upping up the competition, which is why the digital economy and marketplace is so competitive right now. I believe it's the most competitive marketplace in the world. And there's just so many sharks in the water going after the same pool of blood. And but also it's putting pressure onto the institutions that allowed this economy to kind of come to bear and making them rethink some things. And so it's providing different points of entry into business, commerce, the labor force, the entrepreneurship market that no one ever saw coming. No one ever could have seen this coming. It's kind of this weird like maelstrom, this coalition of things that have come together. And it's created something that's really cool. And it's not going anywhere. Like, it's not going anywhere. It's going to mature, and we're going to lose a lot of people. I think there's a lot of bubbles inside this market. But in terms of really where the future lies, it is with this economy. AI is going to have its day. A lot of other things are going to have its day. But I really, really am I'm a very, very bullish on what this economy is going to turn into. And I think that we all should be, because rooting for it, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I don't think it's a bad thing at all, because it gives more people opportunity to change their life, to make money, to be a better person. And I've benefited from it. I've benefited a lot of people from it. I've helped a lot of people from it. And it's only going to get bigger. It's not going to get smaller. And I think this whole thing with the Hormozi stuff, it's really kind of the canary in the coal mine for why all of it's such a big deal. And I think this disruption in the economy, with the digital economy, with influencer culture, all this stuff, it's leading to something that's even deeper than just the formation of a new economy, which you just talked about. Like, the economy is developing, and this new thing called the digital creator economy is exploding, and so many people, particularly young people, are hopping into it and working as salespeople, as entrepreneurs, as operations people, whatever, inside of these businesses. And I think this does point to an economic disruption. But what I also think is happening is that it's going deeper than this. And what I think it's hitting at, and I had this revelation a couple months ago, and I've been thinking a lot about it since, and I really have come to believe that this is true. I think the traditional career is dead. I think the traditional career is over. There is no one that is coming up of age now, that is going to have a career like their parents at all. Zero. There is never going to be I work for the same company for 40 years. I'm there the entire time. I collect a 401k or a pension afterwards, and I'm gone. That is never happening ever again. It can't. The traditional career cannot survive in this economy. It's too competitive, it's too ruthless, and it's too shifting. You just can't do it. I don't see a way possible where you could stay in the same place for a very long time. You need to adapt. You need to move. You need to be quick. You need to learn more. You need to stay sharp, on top of your skills. All of that stuff is so important. It's so important. And that's why I think so many people are having trouble comprehending what this whole digital economy space is, because it's just so much faster. It's so much more competitive. It's so much this, that, and the other compared to everything else. And it's really something to watch. And so what we were taught in Gen Z, this was my upbringing, by my parents, by my grandparents, and by the way, they're not malicious people, they didn't know any better, but what we were told, what every one of my friends was told, what everyone that I was raised around was told, we were told, and we were made to believe, that we would go to college, most of whom taking out loans. I thankfully didn't have to take out loans. I paid my way through college partly. My parents helped, so I'm grateful for that. Get a job, and then we'd be taken care of. We'd be set. That magical piece of paper would guarantee that we would always be marketable. My dad said this all the time to me. And I think this is true to some degree. I don't think my dad was totally right about this either. And so I went to the Ohio State University. And so hopefully they'll have a win against Texas on the books after this episode airs, but here we go. So my dad would tell me all the time that he's like, Sam, you got the brand of Ohio State. That means something to people. And it does. Like, Ohio State is a really great alumni base who are in business, across the world. And yes, Jeffrey Epstein got, famous because he managed the guy who's plastered in the building, Lex Wexner, but that's neither here nor there. And so anyway, but he's like, oh, the brand is going to be a big thing. The brand is going to be this. Like, the Ohio State, that's going to mean something. It means nothing, actually. It means absolutely nothing. I know so many people that went to crap colleges by comparison that didn't have the experience that I did that are whooping my ass in business. The degree means nothing. The magic of that piece of paper, that diploma, it means nothing. And really, working for corporations means nothing anymore. I worked for Citibank. Like I like to laugh at these people that I see on LinkedIn that you see in these headlines that people have been fired or laid off. They're like, ex-Google, ex-Amazon, ex-Oracle, ex-whatever. Like, what does that mean? I'm ex-Oracle. I don't say that I left my company. That was a company I worked for. I don't say that I'm like ex-Oracle. I say that I worked for a really big tech company. They treated me mostly very well. But it's like that. It doesn't mean anything to anyone. Okay, you work for Google. So what? Get to work. Do something. You went to Harvard. So what? Who gives a crap? No one does. That's the point. No one does. And so this narrative of this go to a good college, get a good job, write out your career, coast into upper management, whatever. It's completely and totally false. It's just not true. It's just not true. And Gen Z is known, since we've come into the labor, all Gen Z has known that since we've come into the labor force are very bad things: turmoil, stagnation, job cuts. Like my sales coach currently is the best salesman I've ever met in my entire life. He's younger than me, actually. Best salesman I've ever met. He's transformed my sales skills in an immense way. So Tristan, if you're watching the, shout out to you, dude. But like, he couldn't get a job to save his life, apparently, he's told me, after college. And he went to a not small university, I think. I haven't done research on a college or anything, but like, he's the smartest salesperson I've ever met, and he couldn't get a job coming out of school. Like, come on, man. And so all the jobs that we've gone for, the ones that our parents told us to, like, don't end up like that. Like, don't work be working at McDonald's or work in construction, or you'll be a plumber, or you'll be an electrician. It's like, the self-own of all of that is that all those jobs are the ones that are not threatened in this current job market. It's very safe to be a foreman on a construction crew right now. It's very safe to be a plumber. My brother is a welder right now. He's never going to struggle finding work. He was out of a job for like 2 weeks, I think, or a month earlier this year. He was between companies, and he found a job like in 2 seconds. I think he did like 2 interviews, and he got a job because my brother and people like him, the welders, the people that keep the bridges up. This is the Douglas Murray thing. Like, the bridges have to stay up, and that's true. Like, the people that are laying cement, the people that are manning construction crews, the people that are fixing our toilets and our electrical grid and putting roofs in our houses, they are actually the safe jobs today. And that is every single job that all of the parents that I grew up around told us to not go into. Go into marketing. Go into HR. Go into business. It's like, how stupid was that advice? That was stupid advice, looking back on that. And I don't want to, get too wild and say people are stupid, but it's like, come on, really? And so, because all of the jobs that our parents and the older generations pushed us to, work in marketing, work in data analysts, work in coding, they're all being replaced, by the way, by 2 things: labor and AI. Outsource labor and AI. Graphic design. Okay, fine. I can find somebody on Fiverr in India that can do all my thumbnails for I'll give you an example. So my graphic designer who works my thumbnails right now, her and I have a great relationship. We've worked together for about a year now. She does all my thumbnails for all my YouTube videos that you guys see for $100 a month. And she makes good money doing it. But like, in Brazil, that's a lot of money. Gabriella, shout out to you if you're watching this. But like, why pay a graphic designer to do that? And I have opinions that with the immigration stuff and outsourced labor, I think we should do something about that. But in terms of the way the market is now, like, all those jobs, like marketing is not a thing anymore. Data analysis is not a thing anymore. Coding is not a thing anymore. One of my friends, he's a remarkably gifted engineer over at Amazon. Amazon has a pretty big presence here. He works in the Whole Foods division. And he's told us he's in my small group at my church, and he's told us several times over and over again, this guy's a wicked smart guy, so much smarter than me, that they're not hiring coders at Amazon anymore. Why? Because AI can code for you. AI can write code way faster than a human can. And so he's like, I'm trying to pivot out of software. I don't want to go into software anymore because AI is going to write the software now. And I was like, whoa, that's a big deal. You know how many people that I knew wanted to go into like computer science and engineering in college? Those guys are screwed, man. They're screwed. They're absolutely screwed. This is the second coming of what NAFTA was in the 90s, with the trade agreements, with the outsourcing of blue-collar labor. And it's so funny because we so demean those people and we so spit on those people that are doing those jobs, that are keeping basically the fabric of this country up. And we made them feel like garbage for the longest time. And now the whole own about all of this for the rest of us, and I tried not to do this, I don't think I did this at all, to be honest, but a lot of people did, is that they're saying like, they're coming for you next, buddy. They're coming for you next. And they are. This is going to be a buzzsaw is going to hit the white-collar economy in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be a bloodbath inside of this economy. I guarantee you. And so what this means in terms of the career, I want to bring this back to the career conversation for a second. So this means that the days of you working for the same company for your entire career are completely and utterly over. It's done. It's absolutely done. There is nothing you can convince me about that anymore. It is just done. The career traditionalism about I'm going to just work for the same company for, again, 40 years, and I'm going to work my way up and everything. It's a death sentence. Robert Herjavec of Shark Tank said this the other day. It's a death sentence to do that. And it's naive to think that. And if you're telling people that, then shame on you, because you're setting them up for failure. And so what we're waking up to, especially as younger people, and especially people younger than me, about 10 years younger than me. So I turned 28 in about a month and a half. And so I'm thinking about, like, I graduated high school 10 years ago, and I'm thinking about people that are coming up 10 years behind me who are in high school right now. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like, man, like those kids are going to be in a completely different world than I was. And it's only been 10 years. And so what we're waking up to is that the corporate world doesn't care about us at all. They do not care about career development like all of them say that they do. They don't care about it at all. And I'm sure some people inside, my dad gets so mad at me when he watches these videos because he's like, Sam, you're really slamming the corporate world. I'm slamming the corporate structure. I'm not slamming the people inside the corporate world. There are a lot of great people that work in corporate jobs. My dad certainly included in that. But it's just they're cooked. It's over. It's over. And we were lied to it by everybody by thinking that all the companies lied, all the higher education institutions lied, all of the career fairs lied. Everybody lied about this. And the digital economy is proof of this. There's far more opportunity out there than this narrow box of like, I'm going to just plug and chug and work my life away for a company that doesn't care about me and they can, do all these things, whatever, and can control what I say and what I think and everything. Like, a lot of people are just saying, screw that, man. Screw that. And they should say screw that because it's stupid. It's dumb. It's not an intelligent decision to make for yourself. It's just not. And so what is the alternative? What's the defining career path? And so I think I heard this about maybe like a year and a half ago. This is when I was really starting to find out about a guy who I revere now, who I think is very a wonderful, wonderful person. A guy named Arthur Brooks. Talked about him a couple times here. He's the world's leading happiness expert. Ironically, he worked for the American Enterprise Institute, which propped up a lot of these corporations. Now he works for Harvard Business School. Go figure, are two of the things that I don't like the most. But anyway, I love Arthur. He's great. And so Arthur talks a lot about, he just had a great book called The Happiness Files that came out. I just read it. It's very good if you're looking to become a happier person. I'm a naturally very unhappy person, as Arthur is. So if you're a happy person or if you're a naturally unhappy person, it's a great book for you to read, so I'd recommend reading it. And Arthur talks a lot about career, especially because he now works with some of the most ambitious business students in the entire world, really, at Harvard Business School. He works in the MBA curriculum. He talks to a lot of them about not business stuff, but life stuff. And so what Arthur has really pioneered is this concept that he calls the spiral career. So what this means is that how Arthur packages this is that you will more than likely have several different careers packaged into one career if you're doing it right. You will not be in sales, for example, for 40 years anymore. You will be a salesman that will turn into an entrepreneur, that will turn into a professor, that will turn into a board member or something. You will be a teacher that turns into a administrator, that turns into a think tank employee, that turns into a education careerist. And I think what this does is that it gives people the opportunity to say, okay, this job isn't serving me, this career isn't serving me, I don't have to stay here. Because your interests change, right? Like the world changes. It's changing right now. And so what Arthur recommends is that go really hard into something, but when you feel the need to pivot, then pivot. Like Arthur ran maybe the most successful think tank in Washington, D.C., the American Enterprise Institute. I remember hearing about that think tank all the time, and I wasn't even that into politics when I heard about it. He ran that think tank for 10 years. And he's like, you know what? This isn't making me happy anymore. It's not serving me. I don't really enjoy it anymore. So he left and joined the Harvard Business School curriculum, and now he's the world leading expert on happiness. It's like, how does that happen? Because Arthur made it happen. That's how it happened. It's exactly how it happened. And so you need to be able to adapt, to pivot, to survive, particularly in a world that is defined by AI and everything that comes with AI, because it's going to be, if you think we're in a crazy world now, imagine when this white collar, recession really hits and all these jobs get taken out from under everybody. Like, it's going to get real, man. It's going to get real. And I think that we just need to prepare for it. And I'm not like a doomer in terms of like AI or anything like that, but like there is something that is, there's something that's happening here. And I think it would be a mistake for all of us not to acknowledge it. And I think that to acknowledge it is to actually be practical and be prudent about really where this thing is going, because, the career as it was defined is not the career anymore. It's just not. And I think we need to just, be prepared for that and help people really kind of come to terms with that. Which leads me to my favorite topic, and one that I've been preaching on high for years, is that higher education is a scam. It's a scam. It doesn't do anything for anybody. Didn't do anything for me. Hardly anything. And I'm very grateful that I went, and that my parents worked very hard to send me to college. But I've told them over time, it's like, Tucker had this great quote once. He was getting interviewed by this kid at, I believe, the University of Chicago. They might have gotten in trouble or whatever. He got an interview with Tucker Carlson, and Tucker told him, he's like, don't go to college. College is ridiculous. And that's what he told him. And he's like, I can give you a list of 100 books that would get you more educated than your stupid college would get you. And he's right about that. Like, Tucker was right about that. He was right about that then. He's right about it now, especially right about it now. And so why I wanted to focus on the education system in college was that the root of this lie of the falling apart of the business world is the higher education system. That is the root of all of this, of all of the careerism and the corporate malfeasance and the lies and all that kind of stuff. The education system is the root of this, the higher education system, the universities, the colleges. And I've tread very lightly on this issue before. And I'm kind of done, honestly. Like, I'm not trying to pull punches and mince words anymore. I'm just not. Like, I think that there is a time for niceness and kindness, and there's a time to be very, very dead honest about something. And I'm just not wanting to pull the wool over anyone's eyes anymore and kind of just talk, circles around this or whatever. And I just want to go out and say it. Like, college it's a scam. And it's a scam that is getting exposed in real time. I think the past 5 years have been devastating for colleges and for schools in general, ever since COVID happened, but especially the universities, especially the elite, quote unquote, universities, Harvard, Yale, Ivies, Stanford, everything like that. And so, like, all of the stuff that's going on with the universities, particularly the elite ones, and basically like all the stuff about like the crazy like anti-Semitism of some of the people on campus and the crackdown of free speech by the pro-Palestinian people. And it's like all of the affirmative action stuff where like they discriminate against Indians and whites and Jews and everybody else. And they have all this safe space stuff and all these crazy people they have inside of the universities, and the cost of tuition just going crazy, not because of the higher education quality, because of the amount of administrators that they employ. It's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And it's just, and I think that now what we're seeing, and I think this really started to happen with the millennials, but I think is getting really louder with Gen Z, is that they're just kind of outright saying, it's like, dude, we've been screwed by this thing. Like, I'm going to be paying off loan debt. People are saying, I'm not saying this, thankfully, but they're like, dude, I'm going to be paying off student loan debt until I'm 50. Like, I couldn't imagine that type of pressure, that type of debt that I have right now. And I've been in debt before. It sucks. It really sucks. And I use debt now. I use it to fund investments and things like that for my business and everything like that. But it's like, man, I think people are kind of just done with it, man. I think they're just saying like, dude, like why did I do this? Why did I get a degree in like, lesbian paramilitary African dance theory? And why did my grandma say it's a good idea? Why? And so that question why leads to the answer to that question why. The reason why college is falling apart is because it does not do what it promises to do. It does not do what it was promised to do, because what was promised to us in Gen Z is that college is a golden ticket. You're Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory, man. Just punch that thing in and you're golden. You'll get everything that you want, all that stuff. All you need is a degree. Just get a degree. I don't care what it's in, and you'll be set. And that's a lie. It's a malicious lie. It's an evil lie, because it's not that at all. It's not that at all. And I used to hear all the jokes surrounding that, hey, you'll never do what you majored in. Like, it doesn't really care what major you pick. Like, it really doesn't. I thought it was all for show at a certain degree. I'm like, okay, like, fine. Like, I'm going to do, like, I'll get a, business degree, and I'll have a degree or I'll get a job in business or whatever, or like have a biology degree or a communications degree, whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. And it's a malicious industry. It's a very, very, it preys on young people. It preys on their insecurities. It preys on their parents. And and they're colluding with corporations and the elite industries around that part as well to basically say the only way you'll be a success is if you go to one of us and you pay us $120,000 on non-bankruptable student loan debt. I can't comprehend how sinful that is. Like, it's a evil thing to tell somebody, particularly a young person, by the way. You'll never be successful if you don't go to a university and go to college. Like, what is that? I remember I was talking about my brother earlier. My brother went to, I think, maybe one semester of community college. It's like, I don't like this at all. And they made people like my brother feel like they were stupid and feel like they were dumb. And they're not dumb and they're not stupid. They just have different interests or whatever. And so I think that, like, the other thing that I think is so funny about this is that, particularly around the quote unquote elite universities, like I went to Harvard, I went to Yale. It's like, okay, fine. The irony is that it's not about the students being good at all. I read this study a couple months ago. It blew my mind. You guys know that the most students at Harvard get A's? Like 80% of the grades they give out are A's. They don't fail anybody because they're so captured by this mindset that they will hear from the parents, they will hear from the schools, they will hear from whatever. How dare you give my child an F? Do you know what we're paying to get into this university? Do you know what we're paying to go to Harvard? I used to run through Harvard. I lived in Boston for a year. I ran through Harvard every single day. Just a place, man. It's not this hallowed ground that people think it is. It's just a place. And so most students at Harvard get A's. Again, the affirmative action that kind of it targets particularly Indians and Asian people, Chinese folks, like Japanese folks, everything like that, and white people, basically saying like, hey, we already have enough Asians, we already have enough white folks. It used to be, I think, more Jewish discrimination, so anti-Semitism back in the day. Now it's not, at least in some degree from what I've heard. I'm sure there's still of that inside of that because, there's been this whole stereotype, which is, I think, founded to some degree that Jewish students do really well. And I think that's cultural, just like it is with Asian folks in some parts of the white community and some part of the black community, by the way. Like the most successful immigrant population in the United States is Nigerian people. I think, at least from what I last saw, it's one of the most successful. So it's a cultural issue. I don't want to get bogged down in that. But anyways, so what this is, a university is not an educational institute. It's a credentialism factory. It's a credentialism factory only built to impress other people with the same credentials. Oh, you got an MBA from Yale? I got an MBA from Yale. Oh, you went to Columbia Law School? I went to Columbia Law School. Isn't that great that we went to Columbia Law School together? It's so absurd. It's so obnoxious. It's so gross. There's no, and ironically, there's no diversity to any of this. No matter how much they want to be like, well, we like all the LGBTQ stuff and we're accepting and we're loving and we want every race, every color, every creed, every religion, which they don't, by the way. They never have. They never will. So there is no diversity. You conform to the pattern of this university. Not like the Bible tells, do not conform to this pattern of the world. You will conform to the pattern of this world. You will conform to the university system. You will conform to this corporate boardroom in that other case. And any dissent, any diversity, oh boy, you are cast out of that kingdom so fast your head's going to spin. Of any real or tangible kind. We've seen this with Erica Christakis and the Weinsteins and everything like that. And this is exactly why all of these institutions, these higher education institutions in particular, why they're all going in the toilet. Because they're all poisoned with the same mindset. And that poisoning is leading them to death because no one tells them what they're doing wrong. They're all affirming each other. This is the danger of affirmation for the sake of affirmation. They can't tell anybody that they're not good because they're not good. The universities are not good. They don't help anybody with anything. And so my main goal is this. I was, again, very tentative to this, but now I'm almost militant about the way I feel, is that you shouldn't go to college. Do not go to college. I will never allow my kids, if I can help it, to step into one of these re-education camps that are masquerading as universities. I will never allow that. I will never allow my values to be poisoned by one of these vile institutions. I will never allow that ever. So what I would recommend to anybody who's watching this, if you want to go to college, think about it really hard. But what I would recommend now, knowing what I do, not 10 years removed from it, but 10 years about making the decision. So if you're 18 watching this in your shoes, do not go to college. Do anything with your time other than either go to college or if you're a parent, send your children there. If you're a parent watching this right now, do not send your children to college. Do not do it. They will regret it and you will regret it. I promise you. Because they won't do anything. It doesn't do what they say it's going to do, the colleges meaning. In fact, I would argue you're harming them and harming yourself if you're an actual person deciding this for yourself by going to university, by sending your child to university. Find a way. Find another way. Do something else. Get innovative. Do not do what the narrative says. Plug out of the matrix. Do not go to college. Don't do it. They're dumb. They're stupid. Get your kids, and if they're already in school, by the way, and you're seeing all this stuff happen, you're seeing your kids get dumber, which is what they primarily teach people to do. They do not think for themselves, to abandon their values. If you see this happening with your kids or with yourself, if you're in college, get out immediately. Save yourself the 3 years. Save yourself the tens of thousands of dollars. Get yourself out if you're already in. And if you're not in, I would recommend not going in. I would recommend staying very, very far away. And did some good things come about of me coming to college? Of course they did. But times have changed, and it's a whole new world out there. And if I were you, I would stay as far away as I possibly could. Far away as I could, because it's not going to get any better. That I promise. So wrapping this up, if Alex Hormozi is right about one thing, is that education and knowledge are going to be key to the future. And they always have been, to some degree. But I think what he's talking about a new type of education, a new type of knowledge, primarily pioneered by the digital economy. So they're going to be the key to success in the future. Whatever that future is for you, whatever that future is for me, whatever the future is for the world. Those are going to be the differentiators as far as I'm concerned. And I think a lot of people are thinking that all knowledge is going to be outsourced to AI, but I don't think that's true, actually, because AI cannot do the work for you or adapt your life for you. It cannot make you change. It cannot make you do something different. That is still a values question. And you need to have the right values in order to kind of put that into yourself. So it will always be on you. Your life will always be your responsibility. It will always be on you to change. And the only thing you can do is to prepare yourself for that time when it comes. And the way that I would recommend doing that, if you're a young person right now, or if you're someone in, familiar shoes, you need to get smarter. And I'm not saying that you're not smart already. You're probably very smart in some ways. But the thing that you should be doing to get smarter is by reading and writing every single day, if possible. I'm working on something like this right now. You should be reading and writing every day, if at all possible. I don't care if it's journaling, diary entry, if you're reading a comic book, whatever. I prefer you to not read comic books and just do journals. I'd prefer you to actually write something beautiful And a journal entry could be beautiful, but something beautiful that you can share, and that'd be wonderful. So it is what I have found is I have a bookshelf in the other room. I have probably 7 bookshelves in my other room filled with books. And that's not to flex or anything, but what I will say is that there has been no greater ROI than my consistent habit of reading and absorbing information. It is the number one thing you can do is self-education, to make yourself smarter, primarily by reading books, by writing about what you learn, and sharing your ideas. And I recommend that you do that, everyone watching, so that you keep advancing as the world gets crazier. And by the way, this is what Hormozi did. Alex Hormozi doesn't know everything. He doesn't. And I think you might think he does sometimes. He's a little bit too arrogant for my taste. But what I respect about Alex is that he is doing, and I think he would admit that he doesn't know everything, but he just kind of comes off a little bit arrogant to me, which is fine. He could be arrogant. He makes way more money than me. He's smarter than I am, so that's good on him. But he's doing his best to make sure that people around him, his entrepreneurs, his students, the people that watch his content, get the help that people need. So books are the gateway to the world's knowledge. Mark Cuban said this once, and I don't like Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban said, basically, if I spend $20 on a book and learn one thing, that purchase is worth it every single time. I completely agree with that sentiment. I completely agree. If you learn one thing from a book, it pays for itself immediately. It might not be now, but it's going to be down the line in some way, shape, or form. And so really it makes them one of the most invaluable tools you can have in your arsenal to get where you want to go in your life. And so books are very, very, they're very important. And so that being said, as mentioned, I bought Alex Hormozi's offer. This is a copy of $100 Million Money Models. It's a beautiful book. It's a weird book in a way. Like I said, it's kind of shaped like a textbook. It's like this. And but it's got doodles in it and stuff. I haven't cracked it open yet. I'm doing it later this week. I'm reading the Leads book right now. It's actually all 3 of them are on my desk. So I'm not like a Hormozi acolyte, I swear. But basically pretty small, I think like 160 some pages. And so what the offer was is we bought a bunch of education materials and an AI to help us with businesses and stuff. And I'm like, okay, sign me up for that. And what Hormozi did to break the record was he said, if you buy into this offer, I will donate 200 of these books of $100 Million Money Models right here to entrepreneurs in America. And I will give you a referral code to do that with people that you know. So for my audience, for the all the value economists out there, for the people that so graciously watch my content, I want to extend that offer to you. So basically, the link to get a free copy of this book, $100 Million Money Models by Alex Hormozi, is below. It's in the description of this video. And I would highly recommend that you take advantage of that. I would highly recommend that you take advantage, because if you are an entrepreneur and you want to know more about how to take advantage of, again, the biggest opportunity in the world today, the digital economy, creator economy, get your free copy. I think you'll have to pay for shipping. I think it's like $5 or $10. But this book, as well as the others, the Leads book and the Offers book, this book, I watched the webinar for like 6 hours. It was the most impressive business webinar I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've watched a lot of them. And I know a lot of smart people in business. It was a masterclass. And I think this book is going to be a game changer for me and for a lot of other people. So if you want your free copy of $100 Million Money Models, I bought that offer. Go down in the link below. I think I still have like 199 copies left. And so go down and get your copy. Get a copy of $100 Million Money Models. I would read it, take notes, take advantage of it. And if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, I think it's a great book to kind of get started. It's helped me a lot. And Alex Hormozi has helped me a lot. And I think I know I'm very grateful for that. So if you're wanting to hop into this industry and take a shot, no better place to start than reading a good book and cracking it open and getting to work. Thank you all for watching. Get your copy below, $100 Million Money Models. Own the day. Open your mind. I'll see you guys next week.